with the power of the Most High. I live in the light, and I'm chilling on the front line. The winds my fight, yeah. Forward am I grooving, I'm dancing in His revelation. Jah is by my right hand side. That is why I will not die. Where do you run to? Where do you come from?
Welcome to the Blackout Show. My name is Nana Kweku Andoh Baffour, and I'll be the host of this show, where we're going to celebrate Africa. We're going to look into our rich history, our culture, our music, entertainment, and all sorts of aspects of the human endeavor, and just celebrate the experiences of our panelists and our guests who will attend the show. We have a wonderful studio audience, and I have the unique privilege to introduce a gentleman who is steeped in African history and knowledge, a doctor in his right. 18 years ago, when I first saw him on TV lecturing about HAMET and the dignity of the black man and the renaissance of Africa, it was wonderful to see him on TV. And so without further ado, I'd like our studio audience to join me in welcoming Dr. MAULANA. So thank you very much, Doc, and welcome on set. I'll give you a greeting.
Yes,
Ironic, this has been our greeting for the longest, so it shows that Africa is going to mean something in all times.
Thank you.
But thank you very much for coming on the set, and it's ironic that we have someone like you to start the show, to outdoor a show that is based on Africa and her greatness, that is looking to redeem the dignity of a race that has been trampled on. And so I think we couldn't have had a better person to set the show off.
Thank you again, my brother. I've been in this thing for decades. And we know the particular atmosphere that exists right now in Ghana is very cordial to Africans of the diaspora. But if you had come here about 35, 40 years ago, you'd have found a different situation. I came in during the military regime of the late J.J. Rawlings. And of course, I lived in Senegal and Mauritania before I came here, in Banjul, the Gambia. And so what I'm saying is there's been a lot of work done. And I think the younger people today, they must be educated to that, because I'm looking at so many of our young people who are coming today, and they think this new dispensation of freedom that we have, it just fell from the sky. No. It didn't fall from the sky. There were pioneers as ourselves who sacrificed, and I mean dearly, we sacrificed to bring to what you have right now. And of course, all of you know that the battle, it is not over. I mean, we're just beginning. And so we're in a situation right now, and I focus on Africans of the diaspora vis-a-vis Ghanaians, because since the awakening period, some of you may not know, the awakening period started in terms of Ghanaians really beginning to take a look at Africans of the diaspora is when the bones of a Jamaican little girl, 17 years of age, called Crystal. She was about 300 years old, descended of a slave coming out of Jamaica, and a African-American slave descendant, I believe named Samuel Carson. And the former government under J.J. Rawlings, they brought the two of them here, and they were reinterred in Asin Manso. And there is a whole complex at Asin Manso, and I hold that dear to my heart, because I think that is the platform, that is the bridge that really gives legitimacy to us coming home. And why do I say that? I say that because when the government of Ghana brought those two Africans of the diaspora here, they landed with Ghana Airways. I was at the airport. There was a humongous crowd there. People went, wow. I mean, Ghanaians, to see that their brothers and sisters who had been enslaved and who have been killed, and now they're coming back home to be reinterred or reburied here in Ghana and taken to Asin Manso, that when Ghana Airways flew in, and it was about 4 hours late. It was due to arrive at 5:30 in the morning. It didn't get on the ground until about 10:30. That was over 25,000 to 30,000 Ghanaians on the tarmac. The police was trying to hold everybody back so the aircraft could, make its way up to the terminal. People went wild. So that showed that Ghanaians know that their brothers and sisters were taken away from here. And they knew the spirit of these two was the epitome, if you will, of our struggle and our return back home. That gave the legitimacy for the right to return. And so I began to see it. If the government of Ghana can give dead cadavers the right to return, why can't the government give those who are living, like us, the right to return? This was a situation where I knew that we had reached a point, and it's high time we stopped spending our money as tourists. We have to get something back on that. And I noticed the whole time Africans of the diaspora, particularly, well, let me just say Africans of the diaspora, coming, giving literally millions of dollars a year, coming with the cameras, the dashikis, and saying, kissing the tarmac, oh, I'm so happy to be home. And they spend 2 weeks up and down, run back to LA, Chicago, New York, say, hey man, I've been to Africa, man, it's a big deal. But what have you done to change the narrative of Africa? How nice cladded clothes I have, what car I have, what home I have. If my mama is in abject poverty, if my father in the village is in abject poverty, it don't mean nothing. So it came to me that, hey, you got to come to Africa and change the narrative of the village. You got to find your mom, your dad, and you got to enrich them, empower them. Because once they are enriched and empowered, then their children will be recognized all over the world as such. And of course, everybody knows that it's come to pass now because China is a good example of that.
That's right.
And this is the mistake that we've had with this integrating idea of all-inclusive. And when you don't even have a foundational base of your own. And so there's so many things that was going through my mind. And our brothers and sisters here, I was very disappointed. They didn't know anything at the time in the mainstream about where they had come from. And so I found myself in a situation really that I say I have to start teaching. I spent time, I'm a graduate of the University of Southern California in LA. I was sent abroad to the University of Tunis, Tunisia to do my graduate work, but I had to learn French and Arabic before I could do that. So they sent me to the University of Grenoble, France. I spent 6 months in the Alps at the university there to learn to speak French and read French to a degree. Then I studied Arabic at the University of Tunis. And so I came to the understanding there that, hey, we got to find a way to make the connection with Ghanaians, not only Ghanaians, but Africans. And I'm saying that to say, I'm fast tracking a lot of things, but I'm saying that to say is that we've been separated over there 500 years. Here I find myself on the continent, in Tunis, Tunisia, amongst these Arabs, half-castes up north. There were some blacks there. And I could see that something had gone on this continent. And of course, we realized that all of that area, from Tunis with Carthage, which was called Hadas, with Hannibal, I lived in Carthage. This is where Hannibal lived. And then, I left to go to Libya. I decided I was going to travel by only road and by river. I spent 4 days on the Nile, going from Aswan, Egypt, all the way down to Dongola, Sudan, all the way down to Khartoum, and then over to Eritrea, Ethiopia. I spent a month in there. I'm just looking to find my way. And this was my education. The curriculum at the school was nothing. That was child's play. The education was out with me moving about amongst the people. And so I'm saying the long and the short is I come back to the point where when I arrived in Ghana, and for that matter, even in Dakar, Senegal, even in Banjul, the Gambia, even though the people could speak their dialect, and of course we lost ours. We had our mother tongue when we were on the ship. I remember my great-great-grandmother, she knew certain words of her ethnicity, but they hammered that and beat that out of us. So this is why, if you don't know it, African of the diaspora, particularly African American, we find it difficult to pick up the dialect because in our genetic memory bank, we remember. If you start speaking Tree, if you're from a Tree-speaking area, if you start speaking Dagumba, Yoruba, Charlie, your neck is gone. So you better do what Kobe did. What is your name? Kunti Kent, no. What is your name? And of course, my name is Kobe. So that's what happened to us. So when I got back here, and I looked at Ghanaians, and they knew nothing about HAMET. And even though these names here, go amongst the airways. Go amongst the airways. You got well, let's start with the Akan. You got Khufu, the pyramid in Egypt. I spent 30 days in that pyramid, went in and out. It's Khufu. And Khufu is the name you have down. Then you have Techi. And then you have Te. Te is everywhere. Queen Te. And then in Tree you have Nefertiti, for your beauty. Nefertiti. These are all names that are still carried there. And then you got Amon, Amu. Many Ghanaians with that name. Then you got Ghanaians with, you can open up the phone directory here and look for Asar. It's been now a little bit corrupted. It's called Asari. But it's from the name Asar. Osar, Asar, Oset, which were the first deities that brought about, the pantheons of religion from Kush all the way down to Kemet, even over to ancient Israel. Then, the Ga Adangbe, they even celebrate the festivals here. And what? The festivals say, we came from ancient Israel. I say, you did? That's all they know. They go through the motion. But they don't have anything of substance. And here I'm coming. I'm a little bit read, well read, and I know what was happening, that there were African people in the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, the Genesis, the people of Elam, the ancient people that's in Sri Lanka. They were connected to that area. The continent of Africa was connected to India. All of that, you could walk from Madagascar all the way over to Indonesia at one time. We were all one people. But it seemed like all of that had just dissipated. And now we find ourselves, because of what Don Diego Azambuja has done to Ghanaians and the rest of West Africa and East Africa. If you don't know who Don Diego Azambuja, he was the Portuguese navigator under Prince Philip that came to civilize Africa. Can you believe that? They came to civilize Africa. And they don't tell you anything about Africa went to civilize them, not only through Kemet, but we came again in 711 with the Black Moors. And the Black Moors were descendants of the ancient Egyptians. You understand what I'm saying? But Don Diego Azambuja with the missionaries, that was one of the biggest mistakes, in my opinion. Some people say it was a positive thing. Okay, they brought the Catholicism, the religion, they brought the language. But what they did, they put many of our people to sleep to the extent that when I arrived here, I could see that our people knew nothing about their heritage. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to just be harping on history right now, but I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you based on 50 years living on the continent, if you don't know where you have come from, I'd be damned, you cannot know where you are going. And if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going, therefore you do not know where you are. And this is what you find with many of our young people today, they don't have a clue. I'm the founder of Ministry of the Future. And if you don't know that, this is the organization, the prima donna that broke the ice on getting the government to give Africans of the diaspora the right to return. We were the ones that started it. Now you got many others out there trying to do it, but we were the ones that started it.
Now, Doc, you've mentioned the right of return, and I know that it's a principle in universal law, but can you elaborate a little bit more about that so the audience understands what is this right of return?
Okay, thank you. Yes, let me try to put that in perspective. You see, let's look at government of Ghana. Ghana has a Ministry of the Interior. The Ministry of the Interior is the sector ministry that handles citizenship. Now, you got Immigration Department. The Immigration Department is under the Ministry of the Interior. And so any national, a Chinese, a Russian, a British man, a white American, anybody can, a German, British man, whatever, they can come in, go to the Ministry of the Interior and file for an application for Ghanaian citizenship. Then if they meet the criteria, which is a very stringent criteria, but if they meet it, they can become a Ghanaian citizen. But however, the Africans of the diaspora, now let's make this perfectly clear, because there are 3 tiers of defining the Africans of the diaspora. We have a first tier of the African of the diaspora before the Berlin Conference, where Africans with their cattle and migration, we have nomadic tribes or whatever, crossing the border. Nobody said anything about that. They were like diaspora, moving about. Then we had the Europeans to come down looking for skills. A lot of people think that they just came looking for labor. Europeans didn't come down here just looking for labor. They knew that we were descendants of a great empire, and they had a master blueprint to come and get artisans, rice growers, get architectural engineers, people who were steeped into medicine, etc. And so that was the contribution, if you will, to the transatlantic slave trade. And that's the identification of the majority of our people who are here today and those who are coming now as a result of the year of return. But then we have a 3rd tier of Africans of the diaspora. That 3rd tier is still being manifested today. That is the tier that says, ain't nothing at home in Africa for me. I want to go to Europe. Can you take me to America? They're leaving for economic and political reasons. You see, and mind you, so to answer your question, now coming back to us, we did not ask to leave. We were kidnapped. We were kidnapped, and according to UNESCO, in a summary conference, and I have the documentation on it, February 4th, 1978, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. They apologetically said 210 million Africans were murdered in the 400-year transatlantic slave trade. So having looked at that and me being, into history, which is a minor that I took, but it's my passion, I said, wait a minute now. If we're talking about getting citizenship, we shouldn't have to go down to the Ministry of the Interior and go and meet that criteria that I have to speak a native dialect fluently. How in the hell am I going to speak a native dialect fluently when I've been away for 500 years, and then I have to be in the country on the ground for a minimum of 10 years, and I cannot be going in and out. Then I have to get 2 high-up prominent Ghanaian citizens to sign as a guarantor for me, and then if the president decides at that point, et cetera, give it, but he has to be preserved to give or reject. So I said, no, there must be another narrative that we must approach this. And that's when I went to the president's office in 2015. I went to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and fortunately he knew of me because, coming again, you never know, you see, when, that he had come through one of my classes at the Du Bois Center. Yes. And his brother, Ibrahim, had many of the videos I had, so he was well aware of the work I was doing. And so, long and short of that, he said, write a brief stating the reason why government of Ghana should give the Africans of the diaspora the right to return a citizenship. And I made it clear, because let me just say, I have to give credit here, and I have to come back a moment and say, we started around 1992, and there was Sister Imakus, her late husband, Nana Ben, the Fiancra people, the man is dead now, Nana Kweku Andoh, and Deborah Kofi, who's now back in the US. We all came together at the Du Bois Center around 1992 and began to draft a petition to petition the government to give us the right to return. But of course, at that time, the government of Ghana was just coming out of a military government that they had had for 19 consecutive years and was about to cross over to democracy or democracy, and then it was a situation where they didn't understand. And so we were asked, years passed by, we got up to 1998, and government then began to really listen to us. Okay, the long and the short of that, in 1998, government only would give us by the year 2000 the right of abode. And so going back to 2015, when I was asked to write the narrative, I sat with the Honorable Nana Kweku Andoh. You know, it's not what you know in this society. It is who you know that can open doors for you. And the Nana Kweku Andoh and I have been old friends from 1988. Now, he's a professional lawyer, and here I find myself now in 2015. He's the executive secretary to the president. So the door was open. So he and I sat down and we wrote this narrative, we took the initiative, and it would be predicated upon the premise that we were kidnapped. We were citizens already of either Ghana or throughout the African continent. And another factor you got to know also, the right to return. Ghana has a moral obligation to give us our citizenship by virtue of the fact, during the 400 years of slavery, there were exactly 66 slave ports between Senegal down to Angola. Ghana had 46 of the 66. And as we stand here today and talk, Ghana has 26 of those ports still standing today. And so this was in the narrative to say that if there were 66 slave ports during the 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade, and Ghana had 46, that simply means that perhaps, I'm not saying that, you know, everybody is from Ghana, but we can how can I say?
Trace the link back.
Yeah, we can trace the link, but also we can presuppose that the lion's share of the people who were coming out, they either came from here or they came through here. And so I know that Angola had a large population, and we know that Nigeria. But I mean, look at Nigeria. Nigeria has 2 slave ports. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, and only got Calamar and I think Budagari. 2 slave ports there. Senegal got what? Gorée. And the Gambia has some little type slave port. But Ghana has Cape Coast, Elmina, Christiansburg, Keta, Exum, Fort Abansi, you name it. All of these forts. And that simply means that our people were kidnapped. And this is what we wrote. We wrote the narrative that we did not ask permission with these people to come to take us away. They kidnapped us. So, Your Excellency, we're asking you, predicated upon 2 principles, and I want you to understand this. 2 principles, because we know damage was being done on both sides. And the 2 principles was this. We said, you have a moral obligation. And aside from the moral obligation, we now, of Africans of the diaspora, we have been educated, we have technical skills, and we're not rich, but we have access to finance. So we can come back and bring added value to this economy. This is a done deal. Done deal. I wrote that, and zip, they signed it, and so that is when, and so I'm not making this up now. You may think, no, we have it on video, and if anybody wants a copy of it, I'll send it to you. Where His Excellency sits there and said, and these are the words that I'm quoting. He said, I need no praise from you for what the act that I'm giving you today. I need no praise because I'm giving you back what was taken away from you, your right to return. And that's been the writing fact. That's been the writing fact. And many of you young people here, you don't know it. When Nkrumah became president, because he had studied in the U.S. with Du Bois in Pennsylvania, and he had hanged out. Well, what I'm saying, the long and the short of it was that he was well aware of the fact that if he became president of Ghana, he's going to need the intellect and the will of the Africans of the diaspora, because he was there during the period of the civil rights movement. He was just getting started. And so that's why when he came back here, and he was talking about, Dunkwa and the others talking about let's wait. He said now. And he wanted to hit this, take the bull by the horns. So he built Tama. A lot of people don't know that. Tama was a model city to house the Africans of the diaspora. It was built for that. Yes, with underground sewage. It was supposed to be a model city.
Very well planned.
But over the years it has deteriorated. And so what I'm saying, we need, and I have a poster, and Baffour, I'll give you a copy of it. That was a part of the education outreach, and I think you've seen it, Celeste. It's called The Resurrection of Osai Jeffo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and Africans of the Diaspora. And they have 5, I think, iconic figures: Du Bois, Malcolm, Marcus Messiah Garvey, John Patmore, and what? I think that's it. Yeah, and it has him in the background, and Nkrumah is projected out front. That's when we celebrated Nkrumah's centenary in 2010 with Samia Nkrumah's daughter. And I beg you, Eja, if there's anything that we can get to come out of this platform, the Black Couch, let us resurrect and start an educational outreach program for the purpose of bringing the Africans of the diaspora and Ghanaians together as one. You understand what I'm saying? And then for the benefit of lifting Mother Ghana high and make Ghana and Africa great again. Yes. And that's to be done through Ghananization of the mind, body, spirit, and soul. And the whole of Africa, Africanization of the African mind, spirit, and soul. If you don't do that with race must be first.
Put your race first.
Race must be first. Race must be first.
And so we come to the end of the first episode of the Black Couch Show. We've had a wonderful time here in the studio. I'd like to thank our special guest, Dr. MAULANA, for bringing on the right kind of vibration with his background in African history, as well as the efforts that he's made to uplift the African people in the nation, especially here in Ghana. We are very grateful for him being on our first episode. I'd also like to thank our studio audience and also to you, our audience, for watching us. We look forward to engaging with you on our second episode. This is brought to you by Ahara Studios and supported by the Ministry of the Future, MOF. Thank you very much. My name is Kweku Andoh Baffour, and I will be your host on the next episode.
Best believe there is no escape. Things are so hard for Babylon. They've been stubborn all along. Things are so hard for Babylon. They've been stubborn all along. That's why we have to reject it. That's why we cannot be spectators. That's why we have to reject it. That's why we cannot be spectators.